Alright guys, today we have a quick unboxing of the Simagic Q1S Sequential Shifter. Let's go ahead and get her open. I think it goes this way, it looks like. Alright, got your usual stickers. Good lord, we got a lot of stickers. So giant official sim equipment of Formula Drift sticker. Another sticker sheet, which is unfortunately folded right here, so it kind of ruined those. That's interesting. Our little quick guide, just showing you how to mount it and make the tension adjustment. Another small sticker, and it looks like that's all that's in that. Another sticker, and looks like everything else for the shifter ourselves, or shifter itself. So we've got our mounting hardware, and these little, I think these are nylon, some kind of plastic balls. I think these are most likely going to be a long-term wear item, so they throw in a couple replacements in case you need those. This is a USB-A to USB-B cable. So the same one as the DS8X shifter that they sell. And then we can get to the shifter itself. So here's the shifter and the shift knob. So this is the Q1S. They do a Q1 sequential shifter, which has like 4 buttons and a gear indicator, but it's also much more expensive than this one. So I figured I was not going to be looking down at my shifter to tell what gear I'm in, and I don't really need any extra buttons. I have a Stream Deck and plenty of buttons on my all the rims I use. So wanted to get a dedicated sequential shifter. I do have the Simagic DS8X, which is their combination manual and sequential, because when I first got my Simagic setup, I was doing mostly Assetto Corsa with H pattern shifter driving manual cars, and then ACC, which was paddle shift, obviously. But lately I've been doing a lot more EAWRC and iRacing. So in iRacing, the MX5 Cup, GR86 Cup, those are sequential, and a lot of rally cars in EAWRC are sequential. So the sequential mode in the DS8X is fine. There's nothing terribly wrong with it. It just doesn't have a lot of mechanical feel, and with the amount of sequential cars I've been driving lately, I've felt like I wanted something a little bit nicer with a little more feel, because I tend to drive sequential cars more than H pattern these days. So let's see how it feels out of the box. So decent tactile. Yeah, let's take it off the counter. That's something better. So this is straight out of the box. It's pretty light. I mean, it definitely takes some effort. I imagine though, if this was mounted, this would feel very light. Now the good thing is we can adjust it. So real quick. Oh, don't want to lose those. So I believe these are like inside here, and there's a spring. From what I saw, there's a spring, and that's what provides the tension. So we can tighten it quite a bit more than it was by default. So let's see. Oh wow. Yeah, that might have almost even binded it. Let's loosen it a few turns. And all this, of course, is going to be different once we actually get it mounted on the rig. But yeah, I mean, there's nice resistance, and then nice solid clunk when you get over the resistance. Build quality wise, feels very solid. It's not insanely heavy. I don't think it's really any heavier than their combo shifter. It is a little more compact. It's definitely thinner than the combo H pattern shifter. But build quality, if you've used anything else Simagic, build quality feels right in line with that. I have the handbrake and the shifter, and it fits right in. This is the short handle model, so you can actually get a longer handle that's a similar shape than this, which I actually already have that I used for the sequential mode of the DS8X shifter. So I think that's what I'm going to end up using. We do have this little switch here as trigger. The idea being you can mount, reverse or neutral in games that support it. EAWRC I know does not support going into neutral when you're in sequential mode in the game. So I'll probably map this to reset the car back on the stage or possibly advancing through menus. We'll see. But yeah, what else? So mounting, you got, as you can see, plenty of M6 holes. They do specify here not to use in these right here, not to use any longer than 8 millimeters, which is nice that they do put that and make it very obvious. So they do supply you with those. I'm going to be mounting it from the top through these center holes, and then you have these slots here if you need to have it offset on a profile or mounting plate or anything like that. But yeah, here's a little data plug. I'm actually not sure what that one is used for, because I'll be using USB-B into my little Simagic CAN bus adapter. But if you don't have a Simagic base, you just plug this straight into your PC. But yeah, other than that, let's get it on the rig and see how it feels. So I've been using the shifter for about 2 weeks now, an EAWRC, iRacing, AMS2, and overall I do like it. There are a couple issues that I have with it, but we'll get into that a little later. So as far as mounting goes with the shifter, it's extremely easy. You have a ton of threaded holes on the bottom to use, and then in the front and back of the shifter you have slots and a hole if you want to mount it directly to profile. Ideally this is the way you would mount it. It would provide the most stiffness, but it is nice that they give you plenty of options either way. So I do not have mine mounted directly to profile, and the main reason is because the shifter handle is not adjustable in height. So you are limited to the default height this comes at. And for me personally, I wish I could adjust the shifter arm higher. I ended up just having to use a leftover shifter mount I had to elevate it up a little bit. And it got it up to mostly the height that I would want it on. I do tend to prefer to have the shifter, a sequential shifter, about the same height as where my hand is resting on the wheel. As you can see, this is a little bit lower, but it's not too bad. This is with the default shifter handle size that it comes with, the shift knob size. There is a longer one that I'll show you. I already had for the Simagic H-pattern sequential combo shifter that I've used. So we will show you the difference in size right now. This is what the shifter looks like with the longer shift knob that Simagic sells. As you can see, it's much closer in height to where I would want it to be. It's almost perfectly in line with my handbrake. So I do tend to prefer this shift knob. You do lose a tiny bit of that tactile feel compared to the shorter shift knob, but for how natural it is to use at this height, I do prefer it. So as far as the shifter feel goes, it is pretty dang good, I gotta say. You do have a nice amount of resistance when you start to move the lever, and then you feel yourself overcome that mechanical resistance, and then the shifter returns to center. So there's just a nice tactile feel. You do lose, like I said, a little bit of that tactile feel with the longer shift knob, but it's not a huge difference. I would use it with the smaller one if you're prioritizing feel over absolutely everything else. It's not exactly quiet, as I'm sure you can hear. As a matter of fact, it's about the same level of volume as the Moza shifter. This is definitely more of a mechanical sound though. The Moza is more of a click, whereas this is more of a clunk. I would keep that in mind if you do have, relatives or significant other in the house that's going to be around you while you're using this. They're probably going to get annoyed very quickly. If you're looking for a quiet shifter with feel, this is definitely not it. So my last complaint with this shifter is what can happen just inherently due to the type of mechanism that Simagic uses to provide the tactile feel. So I really only notice it when downshifting, and the more I've used this shifter, the less it's happened just because of muscle memory. So when you shift, you feel that resistance, right? And then you go through it, and then the shifter returns to center. Now, if you are trying to do a bunch of quick shifts all at once, say, like me in rally, crashing all the time, and I have to go down from 4th or 5th straight down to 1st to get started again, or going down into reverse. If you do them too fast and you don't let the shifter return to center, you can hear the micro switch disengaging. So this would allow me to keep downshifting. This is sending a signal to the game to downshift, but I'm not getting any of the resistance, the mechanical resistance, because I haven't let it return all the way back to center. So once I return all the way back to center, then I get that again. It was happening a lot when I first got it, and I almost thought that it was an issue with my unit, but reading more into it, it is just an inherent part of this design. That is something to keep in mind. I do wish it didn't happen. I almost just wish the travel was less. I feel like if the overall travel was less, that would happen less often. But, it is there. Upshifts, obviously, there's enough time in between them where I'm always letting it go back to center and it's not an issue. Like I said, it's part of the design. There's no way to, adjust tension or anything to make that less likely to happen. It's just the way it is. And it really only happens, like I said, when you're doing really fast downshifts. So, you just got to make sure you're letting it return all the way to center. Now, as far as tension goes, I am running it as stiff as possible without the shifter binding. I really can't see anyone really wanting to use less than that. It's really the perfect amount of resistance in my opinion. Now, another feature with this shifter is this little lever here. The idea is you go straight to neutral or straight to reverse, but EAWRC, which is the main game I use this with, that doesn't even have an option when you're in the sequential mode in the game. So I tried mapping it to recover the car, but I already had that mapped to my Stream Deck, and I found that just with muscle memory, I was already reaching to my Stream Deck to recover the car if I ever had to, even though I had it mounted to here. So it's nice to have, but just personally, I don't get much use out of it. But yeah, all in all, would I recommend this shifter? I would say yes, but I do think it could be a little cheaper. It is, I've used the Moses shifter before, that's why I've referenced it. And the Moses sequential shifter is half the price of this. And I don't feel like it's half the shifter. The tactile feel of this is noticeably better. The Moza one just has less resistance. You don't really feel yourself overcoming mechanical resistance as much. It's a shorter throw and it's a very hard stop, so you almost use the hard stop to determine when you shifted. But for half the price, the handle on the Moza is adjustable in height. You still have the little switch right here, and you have two mappable buttons as well that are backlit. And as far as build quality, at least on the outside, they feel very similar. So I do wish this was a little cheaper, and I'd say if you're not already fully invested in the Simagic ecosystem like I am, I feel like there probably are some other sequential shifters out there that for very similar price will also get the job done and maybe not have the limitations that this has. For me, having the shifter being in the Simagic ecosystem is a little convenient in that I can just reuse the same cable that I use for the DS8X combo shifter that Simagic has. So I can just unbolt this mount, take this off my rig, bolt the H pattern shifter down, and use the same cable to plug it in. So that's nice, saving USB ports. And then with the Simagic software, having the little Simagic hub plugged into my wheel, I can have this mimic the shift up, shift down signals, the same ones that the paddle shifters use. So you can swap between a paddle shift car and a sequential car without having to remap anything, or in case the game doesn't support a primary and secondary input for shifts. And then you can also, within the software, reverse the shift up, shift down direction if you want, so that way it applies to all your sims and you're not having to worry about remapping anything. And then, you know, cosmetically, it blends right in with my rig. The red and black theme fits perfectly with kind of the theme I have going here. So, you know, it's not perfect by any means, and I would say, as someone who has a ton of Simagic gear, it's probably my least favorite piece of Simagic gear. But overall, I'm mostly satisfied, I'd say. I do think, you know, if this was $30, $40, $50 cheaper, it would be a much better deal. But, you know, it is a couple years old at this point too, so maybe there'll be some kind of refresh or a, you know, replacement coming out soon from Simagic. We'll see, because I do have the Q1 that's the older brother of this, is more expensive, a little bit of a beefier mechanism, and has buttons and inputs on the top of it. But, you know, those are 2, 3, maybe even 4 years old in the case of the Q1. So we'll see what they come out with. But yeah, so if you're in the Simagic ecosystem, I'd say it's a good bet. If you're not, I'd say definitely consider your other options and, you know, see what else is out there. But with all that said, I do appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of the video. You know, let me know if you're considering this or if you have any questions about the Q1S that I didn't go over in this video. Just put them in the comments below, and I'll try to get an answer for you as quick as possible. I will be doing more reviews on my Simagic stuff. I've been meaning to for a while, but haven't had the time. So really trying to get those done. Pretty much the rest of my Simagic gear I've had for about a year now, almost exactly a year now. So I do have some more long-term, you know, thoughts and impressions that I can put into those. So keep a lookout for those, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.